They called our tank a death trap. A Ronson, they said, because it lights up on the first hit. But they were wrong. They saw the fire, but they never saw the truth. For me and for the thousands of men who came home, that steel box wasn't a coffin. It was our ark. It's a story I've rarely told, not even to my own family. But now, sitting here with my grandson, Leo, who looks at old black and white photos with the detached curiosity of a new generation, I feel the need to set the record straight. He points to a faded image of 5 young men, barely out of their teens, leaning against the olive-drab hull of an M4 Sherman. "Was that you, Grandpa?" he asks. I nod, my finger tracing the ghost of my own smiling face. "That was me," I tell him, "and that was Audacious Anne. The finest home a soldier could ask for in the middle of hell." The world remembers the legends, the myths forged in the fires of propaganda. They remember the fearsome German tiger, a beast of steel and thunder. And they remember the Sherman as its easy prey. But legends are often just well-told lies. The real story, the one that matters, isn't about which tank had the biggest gun. It's about which tank brought its boys home. Our training was relentless, not just in shooting but in surviving. Our instructors drilled one thing into us above all else: get out. I don't care if it's a rock hitting the hull or a panzer shell, Sergeant Miller used to roar. When I yell, "bail out," your only job is to touch grass in under 30 seconds. And we could. Audacious Anne was designed by men who understood that the crew was more valuable than the machine. She had 5 hatches, one for each of us. The driver, Sam, had his own. Ben, the co-driver, had his. The commander, gunner, and loader had a large turret hatch. We practiced bailing out until it was muscle memory, a frantic, synchronized dance of survival. In the dark, blindfolded, we could evacuate that tank in 15 seconds flat. We heard stories from the Eastern Front about the Soviet T-34s. A fine tank, tough as nails, but if it got hit, half the crew wasn't making it out. For us, the numbers were different. If our Sherman was knocked out, 4 out of 5 of us were expected to survive it. Those hatches were our guarantee. The first time we saw a tiger, it felt like the myths were true. It was sitting across a valley, looking less like a tank and more like a mobile fortress. Its long 88mm gun seemed to cast a shadow all the way to our position. A head-on fight was suicide, and we knew it. Our 75mm gun would just bounce off its frontal armor. But American doctrine was never about a fair fight. It was about an unfair victory. I grabbed the radio handset. "King 6, this is Anvil 2. We have a tiger in the open, grid reference, ... Before I could finish, the reply crackled back. "Anvil 2, we have you. Artillery on the way. Keep him busy." That was the first piece of our survival system. The unseen shield of artillery. Within minutes, the sky tore open and shells rained down around the tiger, not to destroy it, but to blind it, to pin it, to make its crew's world nothing but smoke, steel, and terror. While the earth shook, Sam worked the controls, our Sherman's engine humming a tune of quiet reliability. The tiger was a monster, but it was a heavy, lumbering, and mechanically fragile monster. We knew that for every hour a tiger spent in combat, it spent 10 in maintenance. Its crews often had to abandon it not because of enemy fire, but because its transmission failed or it ran out of fuel. We, on the other hand, were nimble. We were part of a wolf pack. 2 other Shermans from our platoon used the artillery barrage as cover, speeding around the flanks. The tiger was a priority target, a huge, slow slab of steel that drew every eye on the battlefield. It was powerful, but it was alone. We were a team. As the artillery lifted, the tiger's turret began to traverse, confused, looking for a target. That's when my gunner, Mike, saw his opening. The flanking Sherman had drawn its attention. We had a clean shot at its side. "On the way!" Mike yelled, and our shell flew true. It didn't obliterate the tiger. It punched through its thinner side armor, and the great beast shuddered to a halt, smoke pouring from the wound. We didn't stick around to admire our work. We vanished back into the trees, our job done. We won not with brute force, but with brains, speed, and brotherhood. The day our luck almost ran out came a few weeks later. We were pushing through a forest when the world exploded. A hidden anti-tank gun. The impact was a physical blow, a deafening clang that resonated through our bones. A red-hot piece of metal screamed through the turret, and I felt a searing pain in my leg. The air filled with acrid smoke. In the early days of the war, that would have been it. A penetrating hit on a Sherman often ignited the ammunition stored in the hull, turning the tank into an instant inferno. That's where the Ronson myth came from, but Audacious Ann was a later model. The engineers had learned. They'd installed what we called wet storage, surrounding the ammunition racks with a water glycol mixture. When the shell hit, the jackets ruptured, dousing the shells and preventing a catastrophic fire. The fire rate for Shermans plummeted from a horrifying 60% to less than 15%. The Tiger, for all its thick armor, still had dry, exposed ammunition racks. One good hit in the right place and it became a funeral pyre. Our tank was crippled, smoking, but it wasn't a crematorium. Bail out! Bail out! Bail out! My voice was hoarse, but the training took over. Hatches flew open. Sam, Ben, Mike, and Charlie were out in seconds, tumbling to the ground and scrambling for cover. I hauled my wounded leg behind me, falling out of the commander's hatch just as another shell hit our engine block. We were all out. All 5 of us. Alive. A medic was on me in what felt like seconds, a part of the incredible system that followed us everywhere. He pumped me with morphine, bandaged my leg, and within the hour, I was in a jeep, bouncing my way back to a field hospital. The U.S. Army's medical corps was a miracle machine. They understood that a wounded soldier who could be saved was a soldier who could fight another day, or at least go home to his family. My journey from the mud of France to a clean hospital bed was a testament to a doctrine that valued every single life. Years later, I read the book that cemented the Shermans' terrible reputation. A biased account written by a disgruntled officer who saw only the losses and none of the context. It ignored the tactics, the logistics, the recovery vehicles that repaired our tanks and sent them back to the fight. It ignored the incredible survival rates that our designers and doctrines had fought so hard to achieve. It created a myth, just as German propaganda had created the myth of the invincible Tiger. The truth is, the Sherman wasn't the best tank of the war, but it was the *right* tank. It was reliable, it was numerous, and it was part of an unbeatable system. It was a tool in the hands of a crew that was given every possible chance to survive. So when you see those old films, when you hear the stories of the mighty Tiger and the flimsy Sherman, I want you to remember this. Strength isn't just about the thickness of your armor or the size of your gun. True strength is in the mind that guides the weapon. It's in the teamwork of the crew who operate it. It's in the unseen hands of the mechanics who maintain it, the medics who heal its crew, and the commanders who devise the plans. The Sherman tank taught me the most important lesson of my life, that survival is never a solo act. It is the ultimate expression of a team, a promise kept between soldiers, that no matter what happens, we will do everything in our power to bring each other home. That hunk of steel, Audacious Ann, wasn't a death trap. It was the chariot that carried 5 boys through a war and delivered them safely to the rest of their lives. And that is a truth no myth can ever extinguish.